Cool, man.
So I can go around and look at this, the artist.
Nobody would recognize it.
Yeah. So I remember vividly seeing this Till Dawn in the movie theater with my friends, like so excited, and like everybody going, "What the fuck just happened?" It was the greatest experience.
Wrong tequila? What happened?
And so I was just wondering, like, did you imagine that this story would have this life?
No, Quentin's very surprised, because that was his thinnest script he had ever written. Because it was his first writing assignment. So somebody said, "Can you write something to show off our special effects about some guys who go to a bar in Mexico and there's vampires in it?" And he ended up enjoying the characters he had created so much, Seth and Richie, that he delayed them getting to the bar as much as possible. So it made the movie impossible to get made because it was like half desperate hours, and then the second half was suddenly showcase for the special effects.
But that's why the payoff works so well.
The payoff works really well that way, but that's just kind of the accident that happens. But he's surprised to see like that thin script that he wrote could fuel a whole season, and then now the characters can go on and live in season 2 and completely go off in different directions just by retelling it in a different way. So not everybody died like in the movie. We could take more advantage of everybody.
And what is it like in reinventing that with such a young cast, with these iconic characters? Because they were saying that they were 6 when the movie came out.
Oh yeah, well I mean they're young, but they're not really younger than the characters that were. I mean, George Clooney was only 34 when he did this. Sama was 26, 27 or something. So, but no, it's great to go back and do it again because. You get to do things right the second time that you just kind of swept through the first time. Like the original script didn't have a temple, it didn't have the snake dance, it didn't have even the Salma character. It was a completely different character. But I wanted to cast Salma, so Quentin rewrote it for her, but she died right away, and Quentin died right away, and Sex Machine dies right away. So we wanted to keep all these characters going in the series. You kind of built it more for something that could last from season to season, and that's really fun to do. Because for me, my crew, a lot of them who worked on the original Dusk Till Dawn, to show up and see the new bar rebuilt, it feels like you're in a time machine. It's really strange. This full circle stuff that happens when you've been in a career this long. It's always interesting when that happens.
And so how is it actually, working on your own network and having kind of that creative control? How is it different than, working on the
It's the best. I couldn't even imagine doing it another way where people would be questioning, are you sure you want to make them snake vampires? I mean, that would feel like work. And I've never worked a day in my life. I mean, I've always had a lot of creative freedom where we can just try things. And by getting a network, that really made TV possible. Because I don't think I would have done TV otherwise. Because otherwise, you put all this work into a show, you give it to a network, they choose what night they're going to stick you on. It might be the wrong night. They might cancel you after one episode. It's a lot of maybes. Where here, when you're on the network, let's do a show about talking to directors. Let's do a show about Dusk Till Dawn. Let's do a Lucha show. Let's pick ourselves up for a second season. Why not? It's a lot of fun. I mean, you can go to work every day knowing what your tomorrow is going to be because you're dictating what tomorrow's going to be.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? Because I noticed the series delves more into the Mesoamerican mythology, and it's really quite elegant and beautiful.
Thanks.
And there's a romance to it in this series.
Well, the original script, Quentin brought to me and said, "Hey, you're Mexican. You should do this because it takes place in Mexico." So I thought, well, let me add something to
Viva
it.
Mexico.
Yeah, I thought, let me add something to it. Let's look. Well, what are vampires? Vampires are a very European creation. If we're going to go to Mexico, let's see if there's a vampire cult that maybe the Aztec or Mayan kind of sounded vampire-like. So I looked and researched and found this sort of snake cult. This woman with a skull and snakes in her hands. So I said, okay, that's the Salma character. She'll come out and seduce everyone with a snake dance and then kill them all. And I'll put the bar, something that's having a bar, it'll be on top of a temple, just to show that it's been there a long time. They've been doing this a long time, to give it story history. But that was it. It was kind of just a little indebted. When we're doing this series, we get to go and do more of that. Like, actually see if there's parallels to our story that actually existed. And then we always try to make those connections. And it's pretty funny to see what kind of stuff really did happen back then that goes really well with the crime world and stuff that we're building. And we're able to put them both together and really take a big, hint from history and from actually.
It's really beautiful,
yeah,
Dan,
really
and thank you for not making Mexico yellow.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The cinematography is fabulous.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What about as far as the series? As far as your plan for the series? Do you have like a long story or kind of in your head about what
I've heard the writers talk about stuff that could happen as far as like a season 5. It was kind of planned very, very long term. In a movie, I always try to pay everything off in a movie. With TV, you got to kind of spread it out a little bit more. That's why in season 1 they were always talking about their Uncle Eddie, and the writers knew, oh yeah, but we're not going to meet him this season. They'll talk about him all season 1, and then season 2 we'll find somebody, we'll cast somebody, we'll write a part for him, and we figure it out. Figure it out later. It's there. You don't have to know all the answers. You just kind of feel. And sometimes they'll change it, sometimes you won't. But you kind of want to have like a little bit of a roadmap, but you really want to be free to explore it as you see what characters are really registering, where you want to take people. You can move around a little bit more. It's kind of got some structure, but a lot of freedom.
Because one of the things I've always liked about your movies is that there will be certain characters, for example, Elray is one of my favorite. We don't know a lot about him. We know he's really good with guns, but we don't understand any of that.
Why or anything.
Yeah, it's very mysterious. And with the show, we're getting some of those mysteries, but we're also getting to get the answers down the road.
Right.
I think that's just really incredible.
Yeah, good thing to have is to get the answers later. And it's fun to hear the writers say what the answer is, and if you're not going to find that out, no, not till like the 10th episode or something. So it's like, wow, it's a long time to hold a secret. For me, I'd want to hint at it earlier.
In the DVDs, you have the Robert Rodriguez School of Directing.
Oh yeah, the little 10-minute film schools?
Yes. So what can you tell us about director's style? How does it fit into the filmmaking today?
How does my directing style fit into film?
Yes.
I mean, my style was always real scrappy, do it yourself. Like that was how I shot Mariachi, like that. In fact, next year I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make another movie for 7,000 because it's the 25-year anniversary of my Mariachi.
Yeah.
Except I'll have a documentary crew film it.
Nice.
They'll have more money and more crew than me, but show kind of how you would do it today, how relevant it is to just make something with just a story, your story, and creativity, and not about money or equipment.
Like I read your book, Rebel Without a Crew, a few years back to El Mariachi. How important is it for you to keep your hand inside the project and not kind of let it go off to other people, and they kind of put their spin on it?
Well, it depends. I mean, if your collaborators are people that you work with that you really trust, you want their input. A lot of times. And a lot of the crew I work with, someone's just asking, your quality on your show is really high. How do you maintain that on a TV? But it's all my feature crew is working on my TV show. The same crew that I use on my movies is actually doing the costume design, production design, the lighting, because they love working on my projects. And this is like doing 10 little movies, not 10 TV episodes. And then we go do movies together as well. So the quality level, you trust their input. You've empowered them over the years. They kind of get how you work, which is they all multitask. They can all juggle. They can all kind of do multiple jobs. And it's great. You got a bunch of people that you really rely on to bring their magic to it. You don't worry so much about them taking it away because they know that it's all about all for one and one for all. So you don't have to. Very few people have that. Most film directors go and they inherit a new crew each time. You have to start all over again. So there might be more hesitation. But we're a family. We all know what we all do best. And so that really helps the process a lot. But I still like to very much know how to do everything. So that at the end of the day, you can go shoot your own movie, cut it, finish it, turn it in. You can do it without having to have a big list of things that you need first. Otherwise, that just keeps you from getting closer to your dream. The longer your I need list is, I try to keep it down to I need nothing. I just need a few hours at the end of each day to make something.
Are you still attached to Johnny Quest?
Yes.
So what can you tell us about them?
Can't say anything about it. I'm still attached to it.
Cool. One of the things that you brought in the first season, giving a break to all these young Latino directors, I think that's awesome. I'm Latino. Grandfather's name was Rodriguez. So anyway, but I think that's really neat. A lot of them really never even directed action, but yet getting a taste of that too. That's so rare these days.
So where do you see the story going? Do you see them coming to America or going to France? The drug running brothers.
We'll see. I mean, this season they're actually in
Season
America.
2
They're in
is
the United
kind of,
States.
yeah, season 2 is...
But where they go from there, can't give anything away just yet.
You'll have to see them go to France.
Oh,
Like in the catacombs.
Do you know how this ends? Did you have it? I'm not asking you to tell us.
not
but
this season. I mean, this season I already finished.
No, like
No,
the
no.
entire
The
show.
entire show?
Just you don't know where it's going.
Well,
Like,
I have some ideas, but I'm sure it'll be better if we work it out and we'll come up with like. That's the thing is that the writers know to trust the process. That you'll figure it out. You have your questions. You ask the right questions, you'll come up with the answers. A lot of it is asking the right question. You know, instead of just what's the ending. You know, like what are the things that would build up to satisfy them for the characters, and then you kind of find it that way.
and is that what keeps it kind of thrilling and fresh for you?
Totally. Yeah, just knowing that you don't know what the next day is going to bring until you go and you start sitting everybody in a room and throwing stuff around, and the process kind of the bad ideas fall away and the good ideas keep coming up, and then connections start happening, and everyone puts their minds on it. It's a different dynamic because it's a group mentality. Instead of like when I'm just writing a script, it's me by myself writing. You know, there's more brains that work there, so it gets figured out. This is neat. It really does.
You are the son of the 90s with Quentin Tarantino and other people who came from under the Dimension / Weinstein banner. So how do you look back at that time, and how do you compare those times with this in terms of movies that are coming out?
It was a great time because Weinstein's were bought by Disney, so they were very independent, but they had Disney money. It was like an independent company that would normally be broke, but they had all this money to make weird stuff. So they would be like, Dusk, go make that, or hey, I want to do a children's film. Well, I guess we could do that too, even though we're mainly an action and a horror movie arm. Go make a Spy Kids, and then go make a Sin City. Yeah, I guess you can make that. It's harder for them now because now they don't have that. They have to raise money normally, have a regular board, and they get questioned all the time. So now it's different. But back then it was the greatest place to be because if they dug it, they would just let you go do it. I had final cut. I could do anything I wanted. So it was a lot of fun.
And as far as one of the things you've been able to do with the series is like the geckos talk about the bank robbery in the movie, but you can show it.
Right.
And you actually incorporated some things from the original script that had to be cut for time and money. There's more of that coming for season 2, I hear?
Yeah, we try to keep some of that flashback thing going where we would show something that somebody talked about and showing a scene and then replaying it later from another perspective. Stuff that we did in the first season, we're kind of keeping that going. It's cool. It's a cool kind of way to go.
It also seems like you really like the process of writing that way, by committee, rather than being by yourself.
It's at both. I mean, I like the freedom of just writing something by myself. I wrote something in no time at all because I had it kind of out, and it's fun work. Just kind of, if you have an idea for something, it can really only come from one person sometimes, if it's a very personal sort of idea. Or something you just think you got a beat on. It could be a bunch of other things, but it's about the subjectivity of like, yeah, it could be blue or it could be red, but I really see it. It's got to be gray. You know, this is the only way it works for me. So you kind of can make decisions pretty easy, but this is different. There's so many we have to make. You know, if I'm just making one pancake, I'll just do it myself. But if you got to make something 50 pancakes, well, then you might also get some other hands in there and see. They'll probably start making them look better and nicer and all that.
You have a certain style of writing and shooting your films. So like Sin City, and Grindhouse.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult was it to transform Quentin Tarantino's script to your style?
When I do someone else's script, I try to do it in their style more. Like Sin City, I wanted to do it in Frank Miller's style. When Dusk, I even shot some of it like Quentin would shoot it. You know, even the framing. That looks like a Quentin shot. Well, yeah, well, you wrote it. I figured this is probably where you picture the camera. Because I do my own stuff all the time. So sometimes you want to take a vacation from yourself to kind of see how other people will look at things, and you end up adopting some of that. You know, always try to surround yourself with masters and learn from them. Because I could go off of myself and make my own thing and do that all day, but to go learn from other people is really where you can get your game up another level. I found that in music, you know, I would play guitar for years just by myself, and then I would go on tour with my band, and I wasn't I mean, it was my band, is the band that did the music for Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado. We went to tour in Europe. They said, you should come along, just play along with us. And you got so much better by being out with him 2 weeks than if I had been at home for 2 years just playing my same shit over and over again. I came back and people couldn't believe I played so much better. I said, God, that was only 2 weeks. Imagine if I went like on a whole 8-month tour with these guys. But that's kind of what happens when you go work with somebody else that's much better than you. You want to try and rise to the level or adapt things from their style that you can use in your style.
Now, in your movies, you tend to use a lot of the same actors. You work with them and are comfortable with them. And in this series, you brought in Danny Trejo. And
Yeah.
are you planning on? Would you like to bring in any of some of your staples from your movies into the TV show as well, just as guest stars or something more?
I haven't thought about that specifically. But when you go into cast, sometimes you gravitate towards people that you know, that you just love working with. You want to work with them again, and they appreciate. Like Jeff Fahey, I worked with a bunch. He comes back as Uncle Eddie. He loved the character, and they love that they can come play different kinds of people. And you enjoy it even more because you have a history together, and you notice what the differences are. So I probably will use people that I've used before, not just to use them, but because they're actually just really good. That's why you go to them to begin with. And you've gotten to know them enough about their talent to know it would be a shame to have just put them in one part. They have so much more potential to play better roles. Like if I'd only cast Danny Trejo as the bad guy all the time, he never would have been Machete, which is the most heroic, badass character we've ever played. He's done over 200 movies and people know him as Machete. He's the only character that people remember it by its time.
Your style is very fluid, and so you would be the perfect fit for a superhero movie. So is that you don't want to compromise yourself, because you were attached to, I remember, Speed Racer, and then to Deadpool as well. No?
Deadpool? No, I wasn't attached to it. I asked to read it. Sometimes when people report that you're reading it, they think you're doing it. No, I'm just going to read it, see if I like it, if I want to do it. I wasn't attached to it. So I'm real careful when I read stuff, because then it makes it sound like I'm signing up for a bunch of projects, but I had never signed up for those. Superhero movies are fine. I mean, but I'll kind of make my own superheroes. The Spy Kids, Desperado guy, Machete guy. Those are all kind of like your own superheroes, and you're creating them. It's really more thrilling to create something than to go just be a director for hire in a studio on a property that they own. It's better to come up with your own. It's a George Lucas model. I was more inspired by George Lucas. He wanted to do Flash Gordon, but he couldn't afford the rights, so he wrote Star Wars instead. I'd rather do that.
Don't go
do a
prequel,
superhero
please.
movie.
Don't go prequel, please.
Go make your own thing.
Any ideas that you have kind of on the drawing board for more programming for ORAC?
You do. Can't say what it is yet.
I mean, I do like the director series. I think that's really
Oh man, the best episode's coming up in November. It is so inspirational. I mean, you can't not watch it and then want to go climb a mountain. And moving, and it's the one with Stallone. It is freaking awesome. It is so good. So you show it to people, and they're just like jaws on the ground. They watch it twice. I mean, it's really, I think, the one that people who just, even not filmmakers or just regular Joes, will just watch it and feel like they can go accomplish anything. It's really good. It's really, really good.
It's very rare you have a program like this. Talk about the craft. I mean, even as just a person who's not going to make things, I'm always interested in seeing.
I don't know. It seems the process, because it transfers to anything.
It's one of the hardest jobs in the world. So many decisions. It's amazing.
Any plans to sequel of Desperado or Machete?
Possibly. I can't say yet.
Can you talk
So that's a
about
yes.
the music for the soundtrack, because it's kind of unique, and you have wonderful music that's different.
Really
It's
great
not-
music. A guy that
it's
I've worked with for a
exquisite.
long time.
Who's that?
His name's Carl Thiel. He's a producer of mine. He produced a lot of my scores. I'll record in this and give him a little writing to do from time to time for 15 years. And then he started co-writing some scores with me. If I had like a lot to write, I would give him my themes and he would spread them out. And I would write themes here. And then on Dusty, I give him the whole thing. And I give him just some notes at the very first season, kind of till we found the sound, and now he's just like cranking
It's
out.
magic.
Yeah, which really brings it to life.
It really does. It ties in the whole
So, he's
mythology
gotten really
with,
good at it.
the
'Cause
characters.
it's an art. You have to be able to have an efficiency to it because there's so many episodes you have to do, and yet keep it very different.
And
have
each
it
one's light,
cool.
and then some are very heavy and very deep.
So,
So you've worked with him for years.
yeah. That said, in episode 10, there's a badass thing. We're going to show it today. I wanted to have another song played during a slaughter, like in the snake dance.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to compete with that. So wanted to have a huge bar fight to a piece of music. And it's something custom made. And I think I'm even singing on it. You can't tell it's me. But it's a 7-minute song
Looking
that goes
forward to
through
it.
the whole, there's like the band scoring the slaughter, and it is so cool. It is like the coolest thing ever. So can't even say it.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
That's a lot.
Music.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
I sit and listen to that and just go, I want to sound